Hello, this is Mike, NoStressMike.com. I want to talk about news, and specifically, this is an advertisement, I guess, for Vice News, VICE News, and the reason why I want to talk about this is I've done stuff, I've been places that I haven't always been proud of. That was all when I was younger. Didn't know any better. And I was lucky enough that I was able to gain some age, because in those kind of worlds you don't get old. They're really bad. The Vice News, what they are, it has, you'll see a bunch of, anywhere like 10-15 minute investigative news. These are reporters that have gone places, and they're going to show you what they see. Now, I warn you, it's some of the stuff is graphic. They don't go out of their way to show it, but they show you enough to let you know it is real. And it's funny because it's really confusing, because you're catching the people that they're with, they're interviewing them, and so you're getting their point of view. And other times they'll be with the other side, you know, and you'll be getting their point of view. So so it does get confusing. And the thing that is kind of neat is, unlike popular network news, you know, government control news, you know, they lay it out like they know what is going on. Now, it's funny when you watch these people on Vice News, they go to all kinds of places, far more places than what I do. Matter of fact, I avoid those kind of places. And but they go there and they talk to these people. And it's funny because it's nothing like the news. Not like the news that we're spoon-fed. It's nothing like that. And I say, when I was a kid, that's the way news used to be. You used to hear all kinds, and you have to figure out what's going on for yourself. Now, when you watch the government-controlled news, there's nothing to figure. They already got figured out for you. So they're just laying it out. So, but the reason why, for one thing, I just stumbled upon this maybe a week ago or 10 days ago is when I stumbled on this. And the thing is, I talk about stuff, and it's stuff that I have to think about. I have to remember back, and I don't like remembering this stuff. I don't like thinking about this stuff. But for me to give a good, honest opinion or idea or thought on something, for me to share that, I need to take into account everything that I know of. So that's why I've had to think about it. Kind of like when I started training SWAT teams. Before I started training SWAT teams, I didn't tell anybody I was in the Marines. I never told anybody I went to Vietnam. You know, because even now, you know, they think of Vietnam vets are crazy, you know, so that's why. And I get the same thing even on YouTube. That same thought still goes. But I say, crazy or not, there's things that I've seen and done that I need to share. And it's for everybody's well-being. And like you say, if you know anything about what I do, I try to avoid bad things. And so I'm thinking about all this stuff, and I think, boy, you know, and I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to share what the realities of shit hit the fan, the realities of it, not just movie stuff, but the realities. And so that's why I thought it was neat when I found Vice News. And I say when they hear something is happening, whether it's on general news or just scuttlebutt, just talk around, they will, and I don't know, I still haven't figured out how they're able to afford to do this stuff, because I know they pay bribes, and they have expenses traveling to all these places. And I say I travel, not to those places, but I travel, and it does get expensive if you don't have a plan and have it all worked out. So, but they get to talk to some really wild people, and it's neat when you really see what's going on and understand and see the fears that these people live with. Now, one of the things I want to make clear, I would say majority of these people that you're going to see when they go to all these weird places, the majority of these people never thought that they're going to be living under the conditions that they're living in right now. It never even crossed their mind. If they thought so, they would have done something about it earlier, I think. But anyway, and I say some of these people have been in this situation for months and even years. This is why I push the three-man militia. The more I keep watching this stuff, I'm not saying that the three-man militia, if they had that in place, they wouldn't have had no problems. I'm not saying that. But I am saying if they had three-man militias in place, they personally wouldn't be living the way that they're living right now. And I'll tell you, they're in a world of shit. It's bad. Like I say, when I first started watching it, I started thinking about Vietnam and what was going on there and how the people had to live with all that. And, and even when I was there, the people, many of them were born into war. So that's all they knew was war. And trying to get your mind to work when you were born and raised in a war type environment, I don't know. I don't know how that works. And it's funny, I'm in Guatemala, and I mentioned they do like over 400 people a month get killed. And just El Salvador, the next country over, I was watching, and they're doing over 900. And it's funny because, and then they've been in Syria, these people have been everywhere, Afghanistan, all this stuff. And it's funny because when I hear what they're talking about and I see what is going on, when I'm seeing it in their videos, it's funny because the same tactics are being used now is what they were used in Vietnam. The kidnapping, and really they kidnap anybody, and they just say that they're, well, they didn't call them terrorists in Vietnam, but now the phrase is they're a terrorist now. But they did the kidnapping, like I say, in Vietnam. They did the same thing, political kidnapping. They just kidnap anybody. Business owners, political people, anybody. Anybody, if somebody's messing with your girlfriend, you will rat on them to the military. You'll tell them, well, this guy's a terrorist or a bad guy or whatever, and they snatch him up and they do all kinds of stuff. And they did that back in Vietnam. I told you in Vietnam, I got mixed up with one when they wanted the guy's house. He wasn't going to sell it. So it ended up, he went away for that. So, and then the next day, a general had his house. So, and So in other words, there was something to this already. And a lot of this happens all the time. And like I say, I've been coming down to Guatemala since the 70s. Off and on, I keep coming down. And even that, they were doing the same things. And I saw it then. And as a matter of fact, I was doing counter-kidnapping at that time. That's when I was teaching people how not to be kidnapped. And if you can stop being kidnapped, you can pretty much help control the assassinations on you too. And so I was doing that down here because I knew what they were doing here was the same thing as what they were doing in Vietnam. And now when I'm watching their videos, I see the same thing going on in Syria, Egypt, like I say, Iraq, and you watch the same pattern goes on in all. And you watch their videos and you will see what's going on. These people will talk about, well, you know, these people are being kidnapped, or the government takes them in for questioning, and you know, all kinds of weird stuff like that. These are the same tactics that are being used over and over again. That's another reason why I say the three-man militia in your own community. I'm not saying in towns. People in towns are screwed. You can see that when you watch the Vice News. All the cities, they're screwed. They're under control. They control their water, their food, the information they get. They control everything. And the country folk, they have to kind of just pull together. But they don't. Nobody thought about three-man militias. They've thought about militias. Now, they have done that. And these militias, when they show them in Nigeria and other African countries, they show them with their militias. But their militias eventually take over the countries, not all of them, but sometimes. And then they turn out to be tyrants no different than the ones that they kicked out. That's why I don't push militias. I push three-man militias. Three-man militias, because they're governed by morals. Morals only. And because once they stop the idea of morals, and that's what happens, these militias will take over, and after they take over, they start putting their own laws in effect. You know, you can't protest, you can't have weapons, they start disarming people, they start doing all kinds of stuff like that. That's what militias do. That's why militias have a bad name. That's why the three-man militia is so much more advanced than that. Now, like I say, I'm not sure how long it will last. I mean, like, you can use three-man militias for years at a time. I don't know if you could do that, because you're opening yourself up to corruption, and then you're not going to be any different than anybody else. And this is why I've made videos talking about how, in my mind, how we're going to work the three-man militia in our area. It's a guideline, it's a plan. It is something that can be worked on. It's something that can be modified and changed, but at least it's a plan. Now, look at Vice News, and you're going to see what happens when real shit hits the fan. This is Mike, NoStressMike.com.